My name is Chris Sawyer, and I live and work in the GTA, and I have been a recruiter for approximately 20 years. I do work not only in Toronto but across the country and even some international work. The firm that I work for is a generalist executive search firm, so we work across all industries and functional areas. I myself, however, specialize in the not-for-profit sector, so I pretty well do all of my work in government, public agencies, healthcare, charities, academia, etc. In regards to LinkedIn, it's important to remember that whatever information you put into LinkedIn is information that a recruiter can use to search on. So whether that is words in your description, your titles, education, languages, the companies that you've worked for, essentially any data that you put into LinkedIn can be used by a recruiter to find you. So I think it's important to think of it in terms of keywords. How do you describe yourself? How do you describe your accomplishments? How do you describe your responsibilities and accountabilities? Your education, what it is that you're looking for. And a recruiter will find you based on the keywords that you are using. It's important that somebody has a full profile, and it doesn't mean that it has to be a replicate of your resume. But I do think that it's important to have a fairly complete career history, that it includes education, and that it includes things such as professional affiliations, credentials, languages, etc. And so the fuller someone's profile is, the more complete someone's profile is, then the easier it is for a recruiter to assess and determine if that person's going to be a potential candidate or not. And I think the other thing that is important to remember about LinkedIn is that this is meant to be a professional social network. There are other social media out there that can serve other purposes for fun and friends and etc. But LinkedIn should be used as a professional network. And so I think professionalism is important. And recruiters will judge people by that. Ensuring that somebody has a professional-looking picture on their profile, that the grammar and spelling is correct. These are things that I think are important, not only to recruiters but also potential employers. Before contacting recruiters on LinkedIn, I think it's very important that you develop your own network. Starting first with colleagues, business connections, maybe your friends and family, although remember to think of this as a business network. So in connecting with friends and family, make sure that these are ones that make sense from a business standpoint as well. And so building first and foremost your own network before you start reaching out to recruiters. For example, I may receive an invitation to connect through LinkedIn. I receive many invitations to connect through LinkedIn, and I look at every single one. If I open up that LinkedIn connection and I see that the person, it's not somebody that I know at all, they've got 20 other connections, it looks like they're just getting started, and I can't figure out why they would have reached out to me, it is less likely that I'm going to accept the invitation to link in. And so I highly recommend that you build your own network before you start reaching out to recruiters. And then I would also suggest that you do your homework on recruiters. Just as a recruiter, I do homework on candidates. So on LinkedIn, for example, I'll check them out. I'll look at their career history, what's their education and their credentials, how are they describing their work experience. You can do the same for recruiters. So take a look at their profiles on LinkedIn. Do they specialize in certain industries? Do they specialize in certain functional areas? and then be selective in terms of who you reach out to. If you're reaching out to recruiters who seem to be in your space, then you're more likely to make a meaningful connection. Probably a few things that I would mention, and especially in regards to recruiting firms. I think developing an understanding of how recruiting firms work. There are differences between retained firms and contingency firms, as well as placement agencies. And you also want to be selective. Don't apply to every job out there. Apply to the ones that are appropriate for you, that you think you're a good match for in terms of your experience and your interest and your skill set. On the other side of those LinkedIn connections and applications is somebody who's judging the quality of that. So you want to be selective and mindful of the roles that you're applying for. I think that important to list a number of things. We've touched on language, for example. So list your languages and your proficiency in those languages, particularly for newcomers who are coming to the GTA. This is a very multicultural city, and so if you do speak whatever languages you speak, be sure to highlight those on LinkedIn, and including your proficiency in English, as it is the language of business in this city. In Canada, you do not need to disclose your birth date, your marital status, your family status, so you do not need to feel compelled to put any of that personal information on LinkedIn, should you wish. And then also remember that I think traditional networking etiquette applies. This is a social media tool, and it is a networking tool. So being authentic, respectful, responsive, these are all things that we expect in our kind of day-to-day contact in business relationships, and we should all expect the same on LinkedIn.